Me having about $150,000 in debt. Alright guys, so welcome back to my channel. If you guys don't know me, my name is Krizia Ann. I am a new graduate nurse that graduated from West Coast University in January of 2021. I got my license and passed the NCLEX at the end of March. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a couple of things that I've been going through, especially as a new grad, so things that I'm struggling with. The second thing that I'm going to be talking about is me having about $150,000 in debt from student loans. The third thing is just talking about my current pay, my salary, how I'm going to be tackling on paying off these loans. So today's going to be a little bit of a different video. It kind of has like this podcast vibes kind of thing going on. But again, I just wanted to make a video that was like super transparent, because I know there's a lot of things that go on, or a lot of what can you say, misconceptions or thoughts about a lot of things. I guess is what I'm gonna say. I don't know, honestly. I probably don't even know what I'm talking about. But the first thing that I mentioned I wanted to talk about is the struggles that I've been having as a new grad, and like what I've been going through ever since I graduated. And I don't know if a lot of students go through this, but to me, my biggest thing is not knowing what kind of nurse specialty I want to go into. And by nurse specialty, I mean like whether or not I want to do inpatient, working bedside in a hospital, or doing outpatient, which is what I'm currently doing right now. So I am a hospice nurse. This is my very first RN job. I got a job as a hospice nurse. Now, before I get into that, I just want to talk about exactly like how I got into that and why I decided to do it. Ever since I graduated, the only places that I really want to apply to are new grad programs, and that's because I'm a picky person, and also because there are only certain places that I want to apply to, because honestly, I don't want to drive too far, because for me, driving at the end of my shift, of a 12-hour shift, I've found myself very exhausted, and a lot of the times I think about my safety first. So if I have to drive about an hour away, I can't, just for my safety. Like, that's just something. So there are hospitals around me that I'm waiting to open up their new grad programs that I can apply to. I currently have applied to one new grad program, but I don't even know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to end up sticking to my job. We bought a house, me and my fiance, and I was like, okay, well, I have to be able to pay for stuff, so I have to find a job. And so I started looking into jobs that were not in a hospital setting. So I was on Indeed, and I applied to like 10 jobs, got about 5 calls the next day that people reached out to me. And these weren't hospital positions, these were outpatient, these were hospice positions, home health, acute rehab centers, those kinds of jobs in their outpatient surgical centers. I got this job as hospice. I started realizing how much I love not being in a hospital setting, because of the fact that I have worked in a hospital setting before. And the reality was, like, I was so exhausted all the time on my feet as a CNA, 12-hour shifts, and that was just 1 time a week. So I'm like, imagine doing this 3 times a week on my feet, like doing this nonstop. And it scared me. And the thing about nursing was, what I really wanted to get into was like trauma. I wanted to do ICU. I wanted to like get into that like stuff like ER, and work on my skills as a nurse, and like apply the concepts that I've learned at school. But at the same time, I'm someone who doesn't do very well with stress. I don't. I'm really bad at, how do I say this? Like, I'm not a person that handles stress really well over time in the long run. Like, if I'm talking about like stress at that moment, like acute stress, like I'm fine with it. But when we're talking about stress over time, like I'm not good at it. I get really bad tight neck muscles. I get migraines. Sometimes I don't sleep at night. My anxiety just gets really bad when my stress is not under control. And so that was a big factor when I'm thinking about like what I want to do as a nurse or get into. And so that's why when I'm starting to do hospice right now, I'm really enjoying it. I mean, it is stressful, but it's not stressful to a certain extent where I'm like having no sleep at all. Because when I was working those shifts, like I would sleep 6 hours a night, wake up, and then just be so exhausted. And then here I am working this job where I'd wake up at 8:30, relax and chill, get my coffee, have my morning poop, walk Louie outside, and do all this stuff before seeing the first patient, because right now I'm actually still training, but I usually don't see our first patients till around 9:30. So I drive to these homes and then I see these patients, and then 2 o'clock I'm basically done seeing my patients, head on home. I'm usually home by 2:30, and then I finish the rest of the day by just charting at my home on my computer, listening to music, and it's just not stressful for me. I feel like I could just get stuff done so easily and have enough time to be able to do all this stuff versus like in the hospital. It's just, I feel like seeing the nurses there just constantly being up on their feet, even night shifts sometimes, but I honestly would only work night shifts. But at the same time, it's like I want to find a job that I'm happy and I'm content with, and I feel like that is my major goal when finding like what job or where I want to end up in nursing, is as long as if I'm helping people, as long as if I'm happy and I'm content with what I'm doing, and I'm happy with the people that I work with, I'm happy with the company I work with, and at the same time the pay is great, because I have about a lot of loans to pay off for, and so that is the next topic that I'm going to be talking about. But just a little like thing I just want to mention again is just, that's just like what I've been struggling with, because I asked my case managers, like, I don't know like what I want to do, I don't know what kind of nursing I want to get into, and a lot of these nurses have gotten into, they've worked bedside nursing, and they've talked about how difficult it's been, and some of them are like, I got this job in hospice and I've never looked back since. And I'm like, great, so I didn't get should I still go get my experience working in a hospital? That's the other biggest struggle I have. I'm like, should I still go out and look for an acute care experience? Should I, Louie? What should I do? Yes? No? You don't know either? Yeah, we don't know. I don't know if I should still go out and get my acute care experience in the hospital, or like just focus on this hospice, get hospice experience, kind of work my career under hospice and maybe become a nurse practitioner hospice, I don't know, or get my experience working in the hospital, which I may end up getting paid more at the specific hospital that I'm looking at. So it's just a lot of things going on, a lot of things of like, I'm not sure what I want to do. But that is my biggest challenge so far since graduating. Now the second thing is talking about my loans, and I don't like mentioning how much loans I have to pay for publicly, because I've gotten so much negative comments from people from before on one of my videos that I made for West Coast about like how much it was going to cost. But these loans that I've had has accumulated over the past 10 years. So before I went to West Coast, I went to UC Irvine, and my family made enough money to basically not be approved for grants. And grants are basically money given from the state or federal, I don't even know exactly, that you don't have to pay for. So I did end up getting loans, but these were like federal subsidized, unsubsidized types of loans that I do still have to end up paying back. And so my family, my parents basically are immigrants. They came to America. They got their education back in the Philippines, so they had no idea how expensive education is here in America. And my mom had didn't expect for me, like Filipino parents want us to get our education, and they always want us to put education first, but at the same time, like, I didn't know what I was going to get myself into when it came to like all these student loans. And I applied to UC Irvine for their nursing program, but I didn't get in, and I kind of just felt that I wasn't ever going to become a nurse. And so I never looked into trying to apply for other nursing programs. And honestly, if I knew about West Coast and I knew I wanted to be a nurse, like a year after going to UCI, I would have left UCI and I've gone straight into West Coast and have finished school earlier. But besides the point, because of UCI, I accrued up to maybe, let's say, $60,000-$70,000 in debt, and that was before I started West Coast. And so I was like, how am I like gonna pay off my loans? I mean, but it was just like I had a degree in my bachelor's of biological sciences, but with that degree, like, I couldn't really get a good paying job. Like, if I were to look at any type of specialty, I would still have to go back to school to get a master's if I wanted to work in the healthcare field, to like work in healthcare administration or anything like that. So with that just basic degree, I couldn't really go anywhere, especially in the healthcare field. You have to kind of pursue another degree for that. Whether it be a PA degree, what else is there? Pursuing your master's degree, or getting a nursing degree or pharmacy degree, like that kind of thing. You have to move forward if you just get a bachelor's degree in biological sciences. So I knew from there on that I had to go back to school in order to make more money, and that's just for me. So I knew I wanted to get back into I knew I wanted to go into nursing, so I went to West Coast, and so I knocked off about all the GEs that I can, because my credits from UCI, like my GEs, counted towards my classes at West Coast. So overall, my loans that I probably took out for West Coast, including both private and both federal loans, was about another $80,000. So overall, I have about $150,000 right now that I owe. Because of the pandemic and because of Trump and Biden, they did pause. They put our loans into deferment. So right now, our loans are basically not accruing interest. And that's the thing about loans, is when you take it out, they accrue interest over time. And that's basically makes your debt even higher. And especially my private loans that I got, I have a very high interest rate. So right now I'm working on refinancing that in order to get a lower interest rate. And so, yeah, I mean, I stopped making videos because people were talking about how they said, oh, I went this route and now I don't have any loans to pay with zero debt and blah, 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 blah. And honestly, it would make me feel bad. It would, because it's like, did I make a wrong choice in getting my degree and being left with all this debt? But in reality, I would have looked into other options, and even though it would have taken a little bit longer, right now I'm happy with what I decided to do, and I'm happy with my degree. I'm happy that I got my nursing degree and I'm starting my career, because this whole time of the reason why I wanted it to go into nursing was because I was like, I want to finish school and I want to get started on making money and focusing on my life and focusing on my career, instead of just kind of in this state of still working on stuff, because I was so tired of not making money for myself, and to finally be able to make money for myself and have this money to pay off my loans and be an adult, paying my bills, paying a mortgage, and not relying on my parents and my fiance. Because to be honest, when I was in nursing school, my fiance was paying for our rent. I'm fortunate and lucky enough that he was making enough to be able to pay for our rent, and my family was also helping me, sending me money to help me pay for some bills and to pay for groceries or to pay for food and gas and that kind of stuff. So I'm very fortunate to have a family and fiance that's very supportive while I was getting my degree in nursing. And I know a lot of people don't have that, and I see people commenting on my stuff saying how are you able to pay for all this stuff, and how are you gonna pay for your bills? And to be honest, it was because I had a supportive family. And I've had classmates who have 3 kids and have a wife, and they're all in school and they're getting the support that they need too. And so, if this is something that you're willing to do and something that you really, really want, you will find a way that will work for you. I know a lot of people are scared, and I know a lot of people are afraid of going into so much debt, but But just think about all your options. Go through all your options. It honestly depends on how you want to get your career. So there's a lot of different ways to get it. You can get your ADN first if you're not in a rush. Then go get from RN to your BSN. There's a lot of different ways to get your degree in nursing. It just depends on what your goals are at the moment. And my goals was I wanted to finish right away as fast as possible and start making money and start paying my bills and debt and start living my life. And that's what I wanted. Now we're gonna move into how much money I make now as a new grad. So that was a big thing that I was looking at on what kind of job I wanted to get, was all about money. And people are like, oh, if you're into nursing because of money, then nursing's not right for you. Well, the thing is with me is that what I do and what I put into my work is a lot of work, and I put everything into it. I don't just half-ass my work as a nurse. And as a student, that is just how I did it, because I'm putting all this money into my, putting all this money into my education for me to not leave and graduate the school with no knowledge at all. And so I know there are jobs out there, new grad programs, like Kaiser. that can pay up to at least $50 to $55 an hour. But getting into that kind of hospital is going to be very difficult to get into. I have a friend who is in a new grad program at a hospital. I'm not going to say what because I'm just going to keep that part private. That he gets paid $49 an hour. That does not include differential, like nighttime differential. So he gets an extra differential for that. So he probably gets paid more than $50 an hour as a new graduate in his new graduate program. Now there are other new graduate programs like smaller community hospitals. When I was doing my clinical hours at a community hospital, one of the directors of nursing was talking about hiring new grads. They were paying $32 an hour. And so it just depends on where you're going to work and how much you're going to get paid for. But I want to be able to work somewhere where I'm getting compensated well enough with what I'm doing. And I know there are places that pay that well. For example, my mom, who's been a nurse for 30 plus years, she can make up to $75 an hour now, after that time frame. I have my fiance's mom, who is working at a place for almost 30 years. She was getting paid almost $80 an hour. So that's like the long-term goals of nursing. But short-term and like as a new grad, I've seen jobs ranging from $32 up to $50 an hour for a new grad. So it just depends on where you find a job. Definitely do your research. Obviously, it also depends on how many years you have experience for. The more experience you have, the higher they'll start you. So if you get your RN degree, get your ADN degree, be an RN, get a year in a hospital, get your BSN, you have 1 year under your belt, and you may get compensated more for that. But for me right now, to be transparent, so after working like one paycheck for me, my gross would be around like $3,500, and or like depending on like how much mileage I put into it, it could range from like $332 to $3,500. That's just the gross. And I'm barely, like, I just got my first paycheck. I'm still paying my dues that I owe. So I'm still like trying to catch up on everything that I have to pay for. So right now I'm like not in that mindset of like, let me pay my loans first, especially because right now my loans are still in deferment. So I'm still trying to get that basis and like just making sure that financially I'm figuring everything out more responsibly. Like, this is how much I need to pay for my bills. This is how much money I want to save monthly, especially because I'm having a wedding in like almost 2 years. So like I have to start saving for that. And this is how much I can pay, how much I could pay my loans monthly. And I'm not at the point yet where I'm like paying my loans, because everything right now is on a little pause because of what Biden and Trump did. And so comfortably right now, that's what I'm making. And right now, what a lot of my bills that I'm paying for include my mortgage, like water bills, electric bills, like all this stuff. So it's like I'm just kind of happy with myself. Like I'm able to pay like all this stuff. Like I get my paycheck and I'm so happy. I'm so thankful. But yeah, I mean, people are going to be asking me, how am I going to pay that off? But that's definitely something by the end of this year. I want to be able to pick or figure out like how I'm going to start paying off my loans and what's my strategy, how long I'm going to take to pay my loans. So that's the next steps of what I'm going to be planning on doing by the end of this year. Especially like once my income is a lot more stable, because this is going to be the first time since 2000. Oh my God, I need a burp. Excuse me. Since 2018 that I've gotten continuous and stable income, and so it feels so good to be back on that again and to make stable income, to be able to support my fiance and myself and just everything that I'm going through. So I hope that you guys have found this little quick video of just me talking about all this stuff a little bit more helpful. I'm sorry that it may have felt like I didn't give a lot of information, but that is just how things that I'm going through, things I want to talk about, because like every week I'm at my new job and it's kind of not any different because I'm just following around the case managers. And so after next week, I'm actually going to be by myself. So hopefully I get to create more content of that, because I didn't want to keep creating stuff that was like very similar each week. So this week I kind of wanted to make it a little different. So let me know if you guys liked this kind of video. Comment down below if you guys have any more questions. I could do a follow-up of this video in the next coming weeks. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for reaching out to me. A lot of you guys have been reaching out to me and asking questions, so go ahead and keep asking questions. I respond to almost every single comment. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.